Welcome to Pasco County Schools Summer Food Service Program Training for satellite sites and non-FNS staff. The Summer Food Service Program was established to ensure that low-income children, 18 years of age and younger, continue to receive nutritious meals when school is not in session, primarily in the summer months. The meals are provided by way of the sponsor to the sites. Pasco County Schools Food and Nutrition Services is the program sponsor. This program is administered by the United States Department of Agriculture at the national level and the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, also known as FDACS, at the state level. There are several different areas involved in the program. The staff at the district office oversees the program and handles any major issues. Each site is assigned a monitor who oversees a certain geographical area. The monitor will visit your site multiple times and conduct an official review of the program. Prep sites are where the food is prepared. The site lead at the prep site will be your point of contact. You will communicate with them regarding your deliveries, service, and other questions you may have. Your site is considered a satellite site. Overall, the program operates nearly 100 sites each year. Satellite sites account for approximately 50% of our program. In Pasco, all sites are classified as open sites, which are sites located in an area where 50% or more of children residing in that area are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. At an open site, meals must be made available to all children, whether they are from a program at the site or the community. Preference cannot be given to program children. Meals must be served on a first-come, first-served basis. The site must be open to the public for the duration of meal service. This means anyone from the community must be able to come to the site. Anyone 18 or under must be served a meal and able to sit down and consume the meal. Please ensure that you designate an adequate eating space for any community participants prior to the start of the program. Training is very important to ensure a successful program. In this training, we hope to convey open lines of communication between us, the sponsor, and you, the sites, the importance of accurate record keeping and accountability for required job duties. All site supervisors and alternate contacts must be trained prior to the program starting its operations. Also, anyone that will have supervisory responsibilities at the site should also be trained. The form you will complete after this training will serve as your sign-in sheet. You will be emailed a copy of that sheet. Please keep a copy on site at all times. One of the most important aspects of the Summer Food Service Program is site operations. Failure to follow the federal requirements pertaining to the program operations can result in loss of the program and/or financial penalties. It is vitally important that all program rules and regulations be followed for the duration of the program. Understanding the meal pattern and requirements for each meal is crucial to the operation of the site. Only complete meals can be claimed for reimbursement and recorded on the daily meal count sheet. Let's look at what is required for each meal service. Breakfast is a 3-component meal made up of grains and breads, vegetables and/or fruit, including juice and milk. Lunch meals are made up of 4 components, however 5 items are required. They are meat or meat alternate, 2 vegetable and/or fruit, including juice components, grains and breads, and milk. Since you are a satellite site, the meals will be pre-packaged for you and will meet the meal pattern requirements. You must ensure that students take the entire meal along with the milk through the point of service in order for the meal to count for reimbursement. Anyone concerned about potential allergens should be directed to the Meal Viewer website. They can review the nutritional information and determine whether or not a student can participate. In order for meals to qualify as reimbursable, certain criteria has to be met. Let's look at each requirement. Only 2 meals can be served at each site. In Pasco, we offer breakfast and lunch. Meals must meet the minimum required meal pattern. If your meals are delivered and do not meet the requirements, please contact your monitor immediately. Meals must be consumed on site. Exceptions include authorized field trips, where we will need to be notified at least 5 days in advance, and the off-site consumption waiver, which allows a child to take a single fruit, vegetable, or whole grain off-site with them. The entree can never be taken off-site. Meals must be served during the designated serving time submitted to the state agency. If your meal service times need to be adjusted, please contact us as soon as possible so we can make the required changes online. All changes must be approved by FDACS before the site can implement them, which takes approximately 1 week. Meals must pass through the point of service. We will discuss this topic in detail later in the presentation and go over our meal count requirements. Supervision requirements are strict for the program. Someone who has completed this training must be present for all meal services. During audits, which can occur at any time, the personnel on site will be reviewed. It must match the personnel listed on the application on file with FDACS. If meals are served outdoors, make adequate arrangements for food service during inclement weather, such as rain or extreme heat. This could include an alternate indoor location, a shady spot for hot days, or if necessary, discontinuation of meal service. Sites must be able to access at least 5 operating days of documents. Since tally sheets and delivery tickets are completed online, they are available at any time. Training records must be retained and produced if there is an audit. Health department inspection reports also need to be retained and produced if necessary. Any changes to the program must be reported a minimum of 5 business days ahead of time. The change must be submitted to FDACS and approved before the change can be implemented. Program changes include serving times, serving dates, field trips, closures, and personnel. Site visits will be conducted during the first week of operation by the monitor for all new sites and any sites with issues in the prior year. The areas to be reviewed are the number of children in attendance, are meals being counted appropriately, is the area safe and adequate for storage and serving, are meals being marked off as they pass through the point of service, are meals being served during the allowed and approved serving times, is all documentation up to date and on site as required by the state agency. If any corrective action is required, it will be discussed on site between the monitor and the trained site supervisor. Both will sign the form. Site reviews will be conducted at all sites during the first 4 weeks of operation. The review will look at approved and trained personnel is present during meal service. Serving times that the sponsor has on their application will be compared to the actual time that the meal service operates. The menu will be compared to the meal being served. The meal being served must contain the correct components and portions to be reimbursable. Meals may not be delivered more than 1 hour prior to service if temperature holding equipment is not being used at the site. Meals can only be counted as reimbursable when marked off at the point of service. The number of meals counted at the point of service will be compared to meals counted. Meal counts from the previous 5 days will be reviewed and should be similar to the current day. Any issues with meal counts could result in meals being disallowed. Health and sanitation requirements must be fulfilled, and the Justice for All poster must be visible during the meal. A copy of the review will need to be signed by the person supervising the site who has been through training. A copy will then be emailed to you. Your monitor will discuss any findings with you after each site visit or review and will request the appropriate corrective action. Your monitor will then schedule a follow-up visit to ensure that any corrective actions have been taken to improve the site operations. Failure to take the appropriate corrective actions will result in loss of the program at that site. Your site can also expect to receive other unannounced visits from the Florida Department of Health and a food safety inspector. The food safety inspector will perform inspections to ensure sites are within sanitary guidelines. Things that they will look at include but are not limited to the following: food protection, whether you are maintaining temperatures of your hot and cold food items; waste disposal, whether you have a clean site where garbage cans have lids and garbage is disposed of daily. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services also has monitors that will make unannounced visits to your site. They will arrive prior to meal delivery or service and will stay through the entire meal service and review all documentation on site. The USDA at both the national level and regional level may make unannounced visits to your sites as well. Please be prepared for these visits and report them to your district contact as soon as possible. You will need to provide a copy of any reports to the district. Delivery will be scheduled up to 45 minutes prior to your serving time. Breakfast may be delivered for the following day. Upon delivery, check the temperatures of both frozen and refrigerated foods before accepting. Conduct random sampling of food packaging and containers to check for possible contamination, damage, or unacceptable food items. Spot check and reject products when packaging or containers appear to be damaged, broken, crushed, or bulging. If you are scheduled to pick up your meals, you will need to pick them up from this designated prep site no more than 1 hour prior to service. You will need to sign the delivery receipt when you receive the meals each day. Verify the number of meals and temperature before accepting delivery. The point of service is the point at which a student receives their meal and it is tallied. The meal count is the tally that is taken electronically when each student passes through the point of service. These tallies are used to claim reimbursement for the meals served, which is how the program is funded. As we discuss these meal count procedures, please keep in mind that it is very important that these procedures are followed exactly. Failure to do so can result in financial penalties or loss of the program. Let's take a look at a detailed depiction of an accurate point of service. The children walk in, get their meal. The meal is marked off the electronic tally sheet by the site supervisor or other trained site personnel, also making sure that all components were received prior to marking off the meal. Remember, if all components are not received, the child must go back through the line and get the required components, and then pass through the point of service again before the meal can be marked as served. The child takes a seat and consumes the entire meal on site, with the exception of a single fruit, vegetable, or grain component that can be taken off-site and consumed at a later time. So in essence, the point of service is the point where the meals are verified as having all the required components and are marked off on the meal count sheet. Meals are delivered in a single unit. Children should not break apart the bag prior to the point of service. Only one point of service is permitted per site and must remain available through the entire meal serving time. Meal count records are taken electronically through the Meal Zone application. If you have not already done so, please make sure that you bookmark the Meal Zone web address, https://mealzone.pasco.k12.fl.us/summer/web tally. This is the form that we will be using throughout the entire summer. The electronic tally sheet application, also known as Meal Zone, will be used instead of a paper tally sheet to ensure accurate accountability and recording of meals at the time of service. The tally sheet application must be used for all points of service during the summer food service program, except during field trips. The web-based version should be used by off-sites where the site staff is serving the meals and by non-FNS staff. Before meal service, log in to the Meal Zone website. The first screen of the tally sheet should be completed prior to the start of service. Select your site from the drop-down menu. The first and last name of the person serving the meal must be entered. Nicknames or first names only are not permitted. The date will automatically populate and cannot be changed. The number of meals prepared or meals delivered to your site should be entered. Once this information is complete, click on the Serve button to start the tally process. The second page of the tally sheet is the meal service screen. You should have this screen up during the entire meal service. When a complete meal is served, click the large green Serve Meal button. The remaining meals will decrease while the meals served will increase. If you need to remove a meal because you made a mistake, use the red minus button. If you serve a meal to a member of the community, which is someone who is not enrolled in a regular program at your site, please click the Community button, not the Serve button. This will increase both the meals served and the community count. This will give us an accurate count of community participation at our summer food service sites. When you are finished with meal service, press the Done button. A box will pop up asking if you are finished. This will take you to a review screen. Please review this information carefully as it cannot be changed. Once you are complete, click the Submit button. You will see the Done screen and meal service is completed. Paper tally sheets are available but should only be used for field trips. Or if a mobile device is unavailable, there is a power outage or other serious event. If a paper tally sheet is used, it should be returned to the site preparing your meals no later than the following morning, along with an explanation of why paper was used. If your site is approved to take field trips and you have submitted the field trip form more than 1 week in advance of the field trip, you will have the following choices of meals to take with you on a field trip. Please discuss with your prep site ahead of time. Please note that all sites must remain open during field trips and have meals available to serve anyone from the community. Share bins are required at all sites. The share bin is for students who have passed through the point of service to place unwanted items. This allows other students to have extras and prevents waste. Please ensure that any item that is supposed to be cold remains at the required temperature or is discarded. If you do not have a use for the item, please let your prep site know. They will pick the items up and donate them. Also note, this only applies to items that have already been served to students. When an item has not been served to a student, for example, you were delivered 20 meals but only 15 students showed up. The remaining 5 meals have not been claimed for reimbursement, meaning they have not been passed through the point of service and have not been paid for. These items need to be kept at the appropriate temperature and either returned to the prep site or served the following day. Now we will talk about food safety in the summer food service program. As a summer food service program site supervisor, you work very hard to serve healthy, nutritious meals to children when school is not in session. Food safety is a priority when serving these children. Thousands of children participate in summer programs around the state every year in schools, parks, community centers, and at camps. The safety of the food you serve should be your top priority. As much as you want food served through the program to contribute to the children's well-being, you also don't want them to cause harm. Foodborne illness with nasty bacteria can creep in very slowly. It doesn't matter if the food is hot or cold, the potential is there for food safety incidents. If you're not careful, bacteria will grow without your permission, which could cause someone to get sick. When these incidents happen, there can be serious consequences and severe illnesses that can cause even death. Even with all the training and awareness available to us, these things still happen all the time. And think of all the negative publicity that can come out in that event, which could undermine the confidence of parents and children and the community at large, all of which could jeopardize the future of your program. Could this happen at your program? Are you sure your site is operating safely? Let's look at one of the most common causes. Temperatures. Keeping food out of the danger zone is the #1 goal. As some of you know, the temperature danger zone is above 41 degrees and below 140. That's the zone where bacteria multiply at the fastest rate. Keeping cold foods below 41 and hot foods above 140 is the best way to keep food safe. So make sure your site has a thermometer. You should always have thermometers in your refrigerator, but there are several ways that your food temperatures can be compromised. As we look at these, think about your site, and if there is a chance, it could apply to you. Deliveries. What was the temperature when the food was loaded into the delivery vehicle? How long is the trip to your site? And how long will food be inside the vehicle on a hot summer day? Temperatures could be compromised. Refrigerators and coolers. Again, be sure they are working properly, and don't try to cram too much food inside, because they will definitely lose their efficiency. And be sure to put good working thermometers inside. In some cases, you may pour a ton of ice inside a cooler. That is good for a short while, but please don't try and keep milk in there overnight. You will need a refrigerator for that. Please be sure your staff understands what the temperature danger zone is and how to keep food safe at all times. How about when you get food deliveries? If your site gets food deliveries, the safest procedure you can follow especially because they usually arrive when you're busy, is to get the refrigerated foods put away first, then foods for dry storage. You should be recording temperatures on your delivery slip. This is one of the things that the state will look for. The temperature should be recorded when it leaves the production kitchen and checked again when it's delivered. If you ever did encounter a foodborne illness issue, accurate temperature recording will help back you up. Your site should have a probe thermometer like this so they can check for themselves any potential hazardous items. Let's talk about another common cause of foodborne illness. That's right, many times food can get contaminated by not washing your hands often enough. So now let's learn how to wash our hands. To be most effective and kill most of the germs, make sure you wet them and lather them sufficiently. But before you rinse, sing happy birthday to yourself out loud. That will take about 20 seconds. Then you can rinse and dry with a paper towel. Remember, when you are working in food service, there's no such thing as washing your hands too often. And always wash before working with food, before putting on food service gloves, and before handling clean servingware. Gloves should be used anytime you touch food. This means if you are assisting students in opening a milk carton, you should have gloves on. It's even more important to always wash your hands after using the toilet, sneezing or coughing, touching your hair or face, which you shouldn't do anyway, after you have something to eat or drink, or after chewing gum, which you shouldn't be doing either, after cleaning up the mess you just made, after handling dirty servingware, after taking out the trash, after using your cell phone. And some people still don't know that if you use your cell phone with your gloves on, that is not a safe practice. If you have new staff on board, or if they are not accustomed to working around food, please be sure you train them on the basics. Here are some common hygiene issues that are often overlooked. Your clothes should be clean, and sleeveless shirts are not permitted when working in food service. You should wear shoes that are safe, with socks and closed-toed, no sandals. If you are working around open, unpackaged food, you should always wear hair restraints. Nail polish should not be worn, or false nails. Jewelry should be modest. If you have a cut or abrasion, be sure to put on a bandage. Beyond that, make sure your sites are aware of the local health department guidance. Part of the annual required training is civil rights. Anyone that will operate an aspect of the summer feeding program must be trained on civil rights. Now we will go over civil rights and its importance. Civil rights protect people from discrimination. Civil rights ensure that each individual has the same opportunity for equal treatment and that certain groups of people do not take advantage of others. The term civil rights is often used when referring to the rights applied to minority groups. The goal of civil rights training in the Summer Food Service Program is to assure equal treatment for all applicants, customers, and employees, provide information regarding personal rights and responsibilities, eliminate illegal barriers that could prevent or deter people from receiving benefits of the Summer Food Service Program, assure dignity and respect for everyone involved in the program. The civil rights training material on this offering are derived from the United States Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Services Instruction 113-1. Discrimination is defined as different treatment which makes a distinction of one person or a group of persons from others, either intentionally, by neglect, or by actions or lack of actions based on one or more of the 6 protected bases, which are race, color, national origin, age, sex, and disability. Sometimes discrimination is very easy to spot. Refusing to serve someone because of the color or gender is a clear example of discrimination. However, sometimes discrimination is more difficult to identify, and a person or group of persons may not even be aware that they or the group is discriminating against another person or group of persons. Intentional discrimination is discrimination in which one person or group of people is treated differently because of her or his race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. Some examples of intentional discrimination are refusing to serve someone based on his or her race, denying someone with a disability a necessary accommodation, serving females smaller portions than those that are served to males. Unintentional discrimination refers to situations in which the system, rules, regulations, policies, or arrangements have not taken into account the needs of a group protected under the law, or the system has not evolved with our changing society. An example of unintentional discrimination is restricting services to certain places or times that are not accessible to certain groups of people. Unlawful discrimination, intentional or unintentional, is strictly prohibited, regardless of whether a program is fully or partially federally funded. The "And Justice for All" poster must be displayed in a prominent location at all serving sites. These posters are made available to all sites on the first day of operation and outline each person's civil rights. This concludes our training. If you have any questions regarding anything discussed in this training, please email fns@pasco.k12.fl.us. Please complete the required form certifying that you have received this training. The link is in the email that was sent to you.